Sup everyone, welcome to the Power Play with CJ. Today we're focus in and continue our team preview today with the Nashville Predators. Obviously Nashville's a pretty active team. They made one of the bigger splashes in the offseason, trading for PK Subban and sending longtime captain Shea Weber to Montreal in exchange for number 76. Nashville's calling card, throughout their inception has always been having a strong blue line. I mean, you look back on Marek Zidlicki come up with the team. Kimmo Timonen was a phenomenal player for them for a long time, and then you went into the Suter and Weber days, and now you get the Subban and Yossi days era, if you will. And I don't need to explain to you guys how good Roman Yossi is. He's pretty fucking good at hockey. Just throwing that out there. I don't know if you guys got the memo or not, but I think you look at this team and you say, all right, the Western Conference is stacked. We know that, but. And I know I sold San Jose down the river last year, but I think maybe last year was San Jose's last stand, and maybe they proved me wrong again. But beyond that, the West is pretty wide open. Chicago is, I'm assuming going to be the favorite. St. Louis obviously really good. Dallas is excellent. LA is LA. Anaheim's Anaheim. I'm sure I'm leaving out a couple teams, but Nashville is definitely in that mix for teams that can, be a threat to go to the Stanley Cup Final from Western Conference. If Pekka Rinne bounces back and, at 34, you don't necessarily, you're not dead at 34, but, it's tough to bounce back and be the goal he was 5 years ago. But, I think he can, if he's better than he was last year, and last year was one of the worst years of his career. I believe it might have been the worst year. There's a whole other dynamic there, and the backup goalie situation is something to keep an eye on between Mazanec and UC Saros. I believe Dave Boyle will bring a veteran into camp on a professional tryout, to be that kind of compete for that backup spot, because it's that's not a position you want to experiment with youth. Just saying. And then you look at their blue line. Obviously, we talked about PK Subban, we talked about Roman Yossi. The depth beyond that's pretty good. I really like Ryan Ellis. I really like Matthias Ekholm. So those are your top four right there. And then you got Anthony Bitetto, Matt Carl, who they signed for almost nothing, Peter Granberg, who they re-signed, Matt Irwin, and Yannick Weber competing to round out the roster. And I think Irwin had a bad 2 games as a Bruin last year. I tried to black that out, but you get 2 of those guys up, and then the other 3 in the minors. I mean, that's some really good depth on defense, and guys that can do a number of different things for you. And I think their blue line, even without Shea, I mean, the Shea Weber never winning a Norris Trophy thing is a joke, but they added a Norris Trophy winner and in PK Subban, so just throwing that out there. And I think I've talked ad nauseum about what I think he's going to be for that team and the excitement level he's going to bring every time he's on the ice. So, again, I think Subban really found his fit on and off the ice, because I think Peter Laviolette will be a perfect coach for him, and I think he'll bring a level of excitement that Predators fans can get behind early and often. So, again, I like the fit for the player, I like the fit for the team. Up front, re-signed Prince Philip Forsberg. No big deal. 6 years, $6 million per year. Definitely a phenomenal contract for both the team and the player. But this is going to be the first year, and all due respect to Jason Arnott, that Nashville enters the season with a number 1 center. Obviously, they traded Ryan Johansson last January. So, you have that legitimate number 1 center that plays in all situations. And then I think everything else kind of falls into place. I mean, following him, you're going to have, Rivera, Fisher, Colton Sessions, who I think will be a phenomenal fit for them next year. Do a little bit of everything for them. And, again, he's a guy I've liked since I drafted him. And, he's shown he can be a capable, minor leaguer, and, looked good in the cups of coffee that he's had. So, again, I think he's going to be a solid 4th liner for them and, give you a little bit of everything on that line. Up front, on the wings, we know how good Philip Forsberg is. I don't got to tell you guys. We know James Neal, pretty good player. And, we know that, I think, first of all, and Craig Smith is obviously excellent. I think Colin Wilson is going to have a bounce back year. He looked good in the playoffs, had an awful regular season. He's probably playing through some injuries, but, I think he'll bounce back and, reward the Predators' brain trust for not trading him this offseason via having a good year. And then you look at the youth up front. Pontus Aberg played in the playoffs. Victor Arvidsson had that wicked awesome, backhand goal in the playoffs. Salomaki, we know he's the real deal. We know Forsberg's the real deal. He'll be 22 this year, Philip. He'll be 22 next week, so happy early birthday, Prince Philip. And then, going a step further, they've got some really good young players in the organization, Kevin Fiala, Vlad Kamenov, and I think both those guys, you'll see next year in the show. I think Nashville's doing pretty good in terms of having a good nucleus, but also infusing youth into the lineup, which, I think definitely, with the way the league is now, you can plug those kids into the third and fourth line because it's more puck possession than ever before. Where 6, 7, 8 years ago, that would have been your bottom six, where dump it in and grind it out. But now with the onus put on puck possession, you can play a Kevin Fiala or a Vlad Kamenov in your bottom six and not have them be out of place and not and have them fit perfectly. Probably the best way to say it. So again, I like the direction this team's going in. I think they'll be one of the favorites in the Central Division. They had some consistency issues last year. I think that won't be as much of an issue. Maybe getting on the same page early on, between Subban's. Subban's a different player than Shea Weber. I love him. I love the way he plays. But there's going to be some turnovers here and there. And I think you have to live with that. And I think fans in Nashville will take the good with the bad. His positives far outweigh the negatives. And I think Montreal kind of was short-sighted with that, and that's no disrespect to Shea Weber. He's a hell of a player, but I think right now PK Subban's the better fit for this team, and we'll see what happens. And when I do my season my overall league previews in the next 6-7 weeks, I'm definitely gonna have Nashville as a contender to win the whole thing. They're definitely in that elite mix, both in the Western Conference and in the league overall, because they've got the team that can go on a lengthy playoff run. And Dave Foyle's shown he's always willing to go for it if he feels his team is there. Obviously, the team's been there but never gotten over the hump, a couple times. But they get the assets in the cap room to add a player and be a force to be reckoned with. And again, I like the young players they have. I didn't even talk about Jan Krok. He obviously signed that really team-friendly extension, and he's going to be a solid second liner playing on the third line, if you will. I think that's he's a double-digit goal guy, and can be a really good complementary player on a good team. And bottom line, Fiala and Kamenov, watch for them next season. They'll be knocking on the door, and they'll get up and show you what they can do. Anyway, that's all I got in this episode of the Power Play with CJ, Nashville Predators season preview. Stay tuned for more episodes throughout the off season and beyond. Later, guys.